Let's welcome in our guest for this hour, joining us, criminal defense attorney Jo-Anna Nieves. Jo-Anna, great to see you as always. Thank you so much for joining us here on the program. I want to get your thoughts on Alicia Andrews. Again, she's charged as a principal, which means she could suffer the same penalties as the people that we know or saw on that video doing the shooting. She's also charged as part of a conspiracy. And I'm not getting that principal vibe from her. I thought she did fairly well on the stand, but I'd love to get your thoughts.
Agree. I think she definitely held her own, responded really well to the prosecution's line of questioning. I think the prosecution kind of gave her a lot of leeway in terms of asking these open-ended questions and allowing her too much room to explain herself. She's a very strong and smart, you can tell, just a very intelligent young woman. I don't know how it's going to go over with the jury. I think we're going to see the jury split on whether or not they think her actual testimony is credible, but I do think she did a good job.
I will tell you, I've been looking at social media comments as well as our YouTube Live, and quite a few people do not buy what she's selling and don't believe her. So will the jury? We don't know that yet. But I have to ask you this. You know, to me, it kind of boils down, is going along to get along. If you believe her and that she was going along to get along, basically, given the history with her boyfriend, etc., can that amount to conspiracy? Because conspiracy has some very long fingers and arms to wrap around people and get them convicted.
Right. I think what we are alluding to and what we might be missing here is those overt acts, right? Yes, she might have been there. Maybe she had an inkling of what was going on, but did she actually do any planning and take any steps towards assisting with this? I know, you know, whether or not she was actually the person that was looking out and spotting is to be determined by the jury. But I think that we need to see a little bit more in terms of her involvement rather than just her simple presence for a road trip.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's where their case is leanest. Basically, they're saying it's all about those phones. And her defense goes even further, saying there was no meeting of the minds. For a conspiracy, you do need a meeting of the minds. She's saying right up until the time that they came back, she still had no idea that this is what had happened. She had heard this had happened, saw it online, but still didn't know that her boyfriend at that time that they were there were involved in all this. So I think it even goes a step further, Jo-Anna.
I agree. And the thing is, she is consistent even when the prosecution is trying to come at her in different ways and getting a bit riled up in response to the way she's answering. She firmly explains each time, no, there was nothing more to it for me. I didn't answer this question because I didn't know. I can't speak to what's in his mind because I don't know what's going on. She's either been prepped really well as a witness, or you take her testimony as truth.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jo-Anna, and I think she is a very smart girl.
She's definitely smart. She's got, I think she went to college or got accepted to college. She has a cosmetology degree, and I do think she was prepped very well.
Completely agree with that. All right, stand by if you would, Jo-Anna. When we come back, the attorneys give their final remarks, closing arguments to the jury. We're going to bring you that in the murder of Julio Foolio trial for Alicia Andrews. That's next.
Back now to Florida, where a woman is on trial for the shooting death of a local rapper.
Alicia Andrews is facing murder and conspiracy charges after prosecutors say that she and 4 other defendants, they're on your screen, fatally shot 26-year-old Charles Jones.
Jones, who is a well-known rapper from Jacksonville known as Julio Foolio, was shot to death outside of his hotel while visiting Tampa for his birthday last year.
And let's go back inside of the courtroom right now. The prosecution is now giving its closing argument to the jury.
Members of the jury, Charles Jones was a prominent drill rapper out of Jacksonville, Florida. He was known as Julio Foolio, 6, the big rapper. He had drill raps on Instagram, on YouTube. He had millions of hits and followers. He was well known in Jacksonville. They hunted him, they stalked him, they found him, they targeted him, and they gunned him down. That is the only reason all 5 of those individuals were here in Tampa, Florida on June 22nd, and then the early morning hours of June 23rd of 2024. The defendant, Alicia Andrews, seated over there, along with her fellow co-defendants, her fellow co-conspirators, Rashad Murphy, Davian Murphy, Sean Gathright, and her boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. That is the only reason they came down to Tampa was for that one specific purpose, to hunt and gun down Charles Jones. This was a rival gang war that has been going on in Jacksonville for years and years. You have seen those drill rap videos. You have seen the type of videos that they are. And Charles Jones came down to Tampa to celebrate his birthday with friends. Charles Jones had posted online drill rap videos disrespecting the other side, disrespecting ATK, disrespecting members of 1200. And the other side did the same thing. You saw those videos from Young and Ace, and the ones produced from ATK, and the ones produced by 1200. Both sides made fun of other members that have been gunned down in this horrific gang war that has been going on in Jacksonville for years. And one of the songs that Charles Jones made was When I See You, specifically making fun of the town center shooting where Young and Ace was shot and his little brother killed, and 2 other members of their group were killed, including someone who went by the name of 23, who was close to Isaiah Chance, the defendant's boyfriend of over 3 years. They had had intimate conversation about this rival gang war that had occurred. They had had, the evidence shows, her messaging on her phone shows that she had had conversations with Charles Jones where she had been told by him about these deaths. They discussed the town center and how he could not go there anymore because what had happened at the town center, that is where 23 was killed. That is where Young and Ace was shot multiple times. There had been conversations on October 8th between her and her boyfriend, Charles Jones. You know what happened on October 7th. Charles Jones was shot. There was an attempt on his life in Jacksonville. And you have seen ballistic evidence in this case that ties the people in this murder and this conspiracy directly to the attempt on his life in October of 2023. Sean Gathright, who is the arms supply person, who supplies the weapons, who has the weapons and takes them away and transports them in the Chevy Impala and then transports them in the Toyota 4Runner and then eventually to his house. When he gets stopped in that Toyota 4Runner, there are rifle shell casings that are tested and compared to the shell casings that are collected from the October 2023 attempted murder, aggravated battery of Charles Jones that happens in Jacksonville, Florida. And it is the same gun that fires those shell casings, the ones that are found in SeanGathright's vehicle and the ones that are found at the attempted murder scene of Charles Jones in October in 2023. They tried to kill him before and were not successful. And you heard that Charles Jones got on the internet and posted a video on the internet and taunted them after it happened, saying that they didn't get him. They planned to murder him, and this time they were not going to miss. This is a well-orchestrated, planned, first-degree premeditated murder. State's Exhibit 22. This is at the Home to Suites. And we put many clips together, but this is Charles Jones, and this is his black Dodge Charger parked in front of the Home to Suites. And his girlfriend is behind him in her car. And you can clearly see that he is seated in the front passenger seat of that Dodge Charger. In the second clip, you're going to see at this location, this is the first time that black Chevy Impala carrying 3 armed and covered gunmen pull into that parking lot and they don't go in front of where Charles Jones' vehicle is. You see them turn to the right. They are avoiding the line of sight of Charles Jones. They want to make sure that they get him. They never pull into the line of sight of Charles Jones and his party. Charles Jones now is laying in that front passenger seat with his feet up. The next clip that you see in State's Exhibit 22 is of the car pulling up of his friend. That's Typha McCrae, and in his vehicle, the black Chevy Impala has already pulled in. It is now circling the parking lot so it can stay out of view. The next clip you're going to see is Typha McCrae.
For you, prosecutors call it a gang hit. The defense says she's innocent. Court TV field reporter Cody Thomas breaks down the case against Alicia Andrews in the murder of Julio Foolio. Watch the latest episode of On the Record now at courttv.com under the Shows tab or on YouTube at Court TV. Stay tuned. We'll be right back with more right after the break.
Back to Tampa, Florida now for more testimony in the murder of Julio Foolio trial.
Alicia Andrews is the first of 5 co-defendants to stand trial for the shooting death of the rising rapper whose real name is Charles Jones.
Prosecutors say she traveled with her boyfriend to Tampa and helped track down Jones before he was shot and killed in an ambush attack.
All right, let's head back into court now for more of the prosecution's closing argument. And a quick reminder, the court has ordered that we can't broadcast certain names. So if you hear the audio drop out, it's because we're muting those names.
Passenger seat. The next sequence is the silver Chevy Cruze. We all know who is in the silver Chevy Cruze. It is the defendant along with her good boyfriend, Isaiah Chance. They circle, they don't go to the right, they directly go by the cars of the victim and the victim's party. These are cars that they are very well familiar at this point because they have seen these cars at 2 other locations. They saw it first at Teasers and they saw it at Truth 18. It is not a coincidence that the silver Chevy Cruze followed them to this location and then pulls off into another parking lot while it waits for that black Chevy Impala with the 3 armed and masked gunmen to get there. They are waiting for the gunmen to get there. And when the black Chevy Impala gets there, they come and they directly look for the victim and the victim's vehicles. Again, State's Exhibit 22, you're going to see that silver Chevy Impala with the defendant and her boyfriend circle around, and they are going to the exact area where the black Chevy Impala is. The second clip, after they have gone to where that black Chevy Impala is and the black Chevy Impala has parked, they then are now leaving, and they again are going for a direct line of sight where the victim and his friends are parked and sitting in their cars. State's Exhibit 22, you're going to see at this very moment, they can see where the victim is. That silver Chevy Cruze is passing where the victim is seated in that passenger seat. They are the eyes. They are the surveillance tracking team of this mission. And make no mistake, this is a mission. The assault hit team is the black Chevy Impala with 3 armed and masked men. 2 of the men are having assault rifles. Their faces are covered. One of them has all black. The other has a white ski mask. And then the third shooter has a Glock with a switch that makes it a fully automatic gun and a weapon. You're going to see in this next clip that the first person to fire is the person with the firearm. And it's very clear what person they are shooting at, what person they are targeting. They are targeting the victim, who is the passenger in the black Chevy Impala. They don't care about any of those other cars that flee and crash. In this next clip, you're going to see that they are specifically targeting the victim. They follow his car. They continue to fire upon his car. That is the only car that they are interested in, because the person who has taunted them, the person who they unsuccessfully tried to kill months ago, survived. And now they are going to ensure that he dies. States Exhibit 22. They are heavily armed. They are prepared. They are masked. They brought artillery with them. They are ready to kill Charles Jones. They didn't just kill Charles Jones. When they came to Tampa and they shot up that parking lot, there were many victims. There were 2 people that were in that car with Charles Jones. Xavier Edwards was shot. You see his injuries in this photograph. Gino Norris was shot. They didn't care who they hurt. They just wanted to kill Charles Jones. They weren't the only victims in this case. They shot up a public parking lot and a hotel that had guests, that had families, that had people that were dropping off their children at University of South Florida, that is just across the street from Fowler Avenue, the other road that intersects McKinley where those hotels are. They shot up hotel rooms that had families in it, husband and wives and children. They didn't care who they hurt. Their focus was on Charles Jones, and they wanted to make sure that they killed him. In order to prove murder in the first degree, the judge just read to you what those instructions are. This is what the state has to prove: that Charles Jones is dead. That element, we only have to prove 3 elements beyond and to the exclusion of reasonable doubt. Charles Jones is dead. That has been proved beyond a reasonable doubt. The death was caused by the criminal act of Alicia Andrews. That has been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. There is a mountain of evidence, and we're going to talk about the principal instruction, because she is a principal to this crime, and you treat her as if she had done everything her fellow co-defendants did. You put her in exactly the same shoes. She is criminally responsible for everything that her fellow co-defendants did in this particular case, and that there was a premeditated killing of Charles Jones. An act includes a series or related actions arising from and performed pursuant to a single design or purpose. Killing with premeditation is a killing after consciously deciding to do so. The decision must be present in the mind at the time of the killing. The law does not fix the exact period of time that must pass between the formation of the premeditated intent to kill and the killing. The period of time must be long enough to allow reflection by the defendant. The premeditated intent to kill must be formed before the killing. Premeditation can happen in seconds. There is no fixed time. There just has to be a conscious reflection by the defendant, where they reflect upon it and form that.
Still with us, criminal defense attorney Jo-Anna Nieves. Jo-Anna, let me ask you this. So I feel like the prosecution is addressing closing very similarly to opening. It was done by somebody different, but it was showing the entire video. And I remember thinking, oh boy, we can't follow it. Well, now they're breaking it down, but is it compelling? Do you think that it's convincing this jury, yes, there's enough evidence to convict her of murder?
I really think that we're going to end up with a hung jury here. That's my prediction, that I think you're going to have some of those people that operate with that common sense factor, like, oh, okay, she was with this guy for years, she hopped in the car, she drove all the way down there, and you really want us to believe you didn't know anything about it. But common sense isn't the burden of proof. It's the prosecution's job to show each and every element beyond a reasonable doubt. And I do think that they're going to struggle with showing what we were discussing about the meeting of the minds and the actions that she actually took to participate.
Yeah, I would agree. And similarly, I'm having the same reaction that I had to the opening statement, is that we're hearing a lot about about these other guys, not a lot about her. They try to say she was the one that was going to rent out the Airbnb. That didn't quite pan out. She made a call, but it was somebody else who got the Airbnb. We know about the call situation. When you start digging into it, I think it's still sort of this flimsy sort of connection between the two. And I wonder what you think, Jo-Anna, about the charging decision. One of the things that the defense is going to argue is that this was an overzealous detective. He was only on the job for 4 months, and he just saw this little thing dangling there, this young lady. He didn't like her answers to the questions and decided to pass it on so that prosecutors could look at it and possibly charge her, and they did.
I could see where that could happen too, right? When you see her demeanor on the stand, and she has kind of a very hard disposition. Like she may not have been as cooperative as they wanted her to be and weren't giving them the answers that they were looking for. And so you can see that where the targeting may have happened here, that, okay, well, we're going to make her a bigger part of this than she may actually have been. So I could definitely align with that kind of analysis.
And Judge, I want to just point out, I mean, it's kind of the elephant in the room. Let's not discount the fact of what she looks like. The defense has made a tremendous effort to make her look a certain way. She comes across very well, certainly doesn't look the part.
No,
and
she doesn't look like a gang member.
Important.
That is important, and I think they prepped her, to your point, very, very well for her testimony.
Agreed.
All right, stay tuned. We need to take a break. When we come back, we'll have more of the state's closing argument in the murder trial of Alicia Andrews. That's next.
Don't forget to like and share this video, and for more legal insights, keep watching and subscribe to our channel.